Hello, Internet! Thank you for joining us. It is time for the final chapter of The Magic of Oz, Book 13 of the Oz series. There's only 14 books, folks. We finish this tonight. Tomorrow we begin the last book. I think I figured up it'll be like May 19th, and we'll be all done with Oz. Sad face. I have thoroughly enjoyed reading all these books, and I hope you've enjoyed listening. Tonight, we're going to read Chapter 23 of The Magic of Oz, like I said, the last chapter, and it's called The Fountain of Oblivion. What are they going to do with the Fountain of Oblivion? I have no idea. They just had a really happy birthday party. Why would they need the Fountain of Oblivion? I don't know. Let's find out. The morning after the birthday fete, F-E-T-E. I don't know. The morning after the birthday party, as the wizard and Dorothy were walking in the grounds of the palace, Ozma came out and joined them, saying, "I want to hear more of your adventures in the forest of Goo Goo, and how you were able to get those dear little monkeys to use in Dorothy's surprise cake." So they sat down on a marble bench near to the fountain of the water of Oblivion, and between them Dorothy and the wizard related their adventures. "I was dreadfully fussy when I was a woolly lamb," said Dorothy, "for it didn't feel good a bit, and I was quite sure, that I'd never get back to be a girl again." "You might have been a woolly lamb yet, had I not happened to have discovered that magic transformation wood," declared the wizard. "But what became of the walnut and the hickory nut into which you transformed those dreadful beast magicians?" inquired Ozma. "Why, I had almost forgotten them," was the reply, "but I believe they are still here in my pocket." Then he searched his pockets and brought out the 2 nuts and showed them to her. Ozma regarded them thoughtfully. "It isn't right to leave any living creatures in such helpless forms," said she. "I think, wizard, you ought to transform them into their natural shapes again." "But I don't know what their natural shapes are," he objected. "For of course the forms of mixed animals with which they had assumed were not natural to them. And you must not forget, Ozma, that their natures were cruel and mischievous. So if I bring them back to life, they might cause us a great deal of trouble." "Nevertheless," said the ruler of Oz, "we must free them from their present enchantments. When you restore them to their natural forms, we will discover who they really are, and surely we need not fear any 2 people, even though they prove to be magicians and our enemies." "I am not so sure of that," protested the wizard with a shake of his bald head. "The one bit of magic I robbed them of, which was the word of transformation, is so simple yet so powerful, that neither Glinda nor I can equal it. It isn't all in the word, it's in the way that the word is pronounced, so if the 2 strange magicians have other magic of the same sort, they might prove very dangerous to us if we liberated them." "I've an idea!" exclaimed Dorothy. "I'm no wizard, no fairy, but if you do as I say, we needn't fear those people at all." "What is your thought, my dear?" asked Ozma. "Well," replied the girl, "here's the fountain of the water of Oblivion. And that's what put the notion into my head. When the wizard speaks that terrible word that'll change them back into their real forms, he can make them dreadfully thirsty, too, and we'll just put a cup right here by the fountain so it'll be handy, and they'll drink the water, forget all the magic they ever knew, and everything else, too." "That's not a bad idea," said the wizard, looking at Dorothy approvingly. "It is a very good idea," declared Ozma. "Run for a cup, Dorothy." So Dorothy ran to get a cup, and while she was gone, the wizard said, "I don't know whether the real forms of these magicians are those of men or beasts. If they are beasts, they would not drink from a cup, but might attack us at once and drink afterward. So it might be safe for us to have the Cowardly Lion and the Hungry Tiger here to protect us if necessary." Ozma drew out a silver whistle which was attached to a slender gold chain and blew upon the whistle 2 shrill blasts. The sound, though not harsh, was very penetrating, and as soon as it reached the ears of the Cowardly Lion and the Hungry Tiger, the 2 huge beasts quickly came bounding toward them. Ozma explained to them what the wizard was about to do, and told them to keep quiet unless danger threatened. So the 2 powerful guardians of the ruler of Oz crouched beside the fountain and waited. Dorothy returned and set the cup on the edge of the fountain. Then the wizard placed the hickory nut beside the fountain and said in a solemn voice, "I want you to return to your natural form and be very thirsty. Persquixkle." In an instant there appeared, in place of the hickory nut, the form of Kikiaru, the Hyup boy. He seemed bewildered at first, as if trying to remember what had happened to him and why he was in this strange place. But he was facing the fountain, and the bubbling water reminded him that he was thirsty. Without noticing Ozma, the wizard, and Dorothy, who were behind him, He picked up the cup, filled it with the water of Oblivion, and drank it to the last drop. He was now no longer thirsty, but he felt more bewildered than ever, for now he could remember nothing at all, not even his name or where he came from. He looked around the beautiful garden with a pleasant expression, and then, turning, he beheld Ozma and the wizard and Dorothy regarding him curiously, and the two great beasts crouching behind them. Kikiaru did not know who they were, but he thought Ozma very lovely and Dorothy very pleasant. So he smiled at them, the same innocent, happy smile that a baby might have indulged in, and that pleased Dorothy, who seized his hand and led him to a seat beside her on the bench. "Why, I thought you was a dreadful magician," she exclaimed, "but you're only a boy." "What is a magician?" he asked, "and what is a boy?" "Don't you know?" inquired the girl. Kiki shook his head, then he laughed. "I don't seem to know anything," he replied. "It's very curious," remarked the wizard. "He wears the dress of the Munchkin, so he must have lived at one time in the Munchkin country. Of course, the boy can tell us nothing of his history or his family, for he's forgotten all that he ever knew." "He seems a nice boy now that all the wickedness has gone from him," said Ozma, "so we will keep him here with us and teach him our ways, to be true and considerate of others." "Why, in that case, it's lucky for him he drank the water of Oblivion," said Dorothy. "It is indeed," agreed the wizard. "But the remarkable thing to me is how such a young boy ever learned the secret of the magic word of transformation. Perhaps his companion, who is at present this walnut, was the real magician, although I seem to remember that it was this boy in the beast form who whispered the magic word into the hollow tree, where I overheard it." "Well, we will soon know who the other is," suggested Ozma. "He may prove to be another Munchkin boy." The wizard placed the walnut near the fountain and said, as slowly and solemnly as before, "I want you to resume your natural form, and to be very thirsty. Pisquixquel." Then the walnut disappeared, and Ruggedo the gnome stood in its place. He also was facing the fountain, and he reached for the cup, filled it, and was about to drink, when Dorothy exclaimed, "Why, it's the old Gnome King!" Ruggedo swung around and faced them, the cup still in his hand. "Yes," he said in an angry voice, "it's the old Gnome King, and I'm going to conquer all Oz and be revenged on you for kicking me out of my throne." He looked around a moment and then continued, "There isn't an egg in sight, and I'm stronger than all of you people put together. I don't know how I came here, but I'm going to fight the fight of my life, and I'll win." His long white hair and beard waved in the breeze. His eyes flashed hate and vengeance, and so astonished and shocked were they by the sudden appearance of this old enemy of the Oz people that they could only stare at him in silence and shrink away from his wild glare. Ruggedo laughed. He drank the water, threw the cup on the ground, and said fiercely, and now, and his voice grew gentle. He rubbed his forehead with a puzzled air and stroked his long beard. "What was I going to say?" he asked pleadingly. "Don't you remember?" said the wizard. "No, I've forgotten." "Who are you?" asked Dorothy. I'm sure I don't know," he stammered. "Well, don't you know who we are either?" questioned the girl. "I haven't the slightest idea," said the gnome. "Tell us who the Munchkin boy is," suggested Ozma. Ruggedo looked at the boy and shook his head. "He's a stranger to me. You're all strangers. I'm a stranger to myself," he said. Then he patted the lion's head and murmured, "Good doggy," and the lion growled indignantly. "What shall we do with him?" asked the wizard, perplexed. "Once before, the wicked old gnome came here to conquer us, and then as now he drank of the water of Oblivion, became harmless, but we sent him back to the Gnome Kingdom, where he soon learned the old evil ways again. For that reason," said Ozma, "we must find a place for him in the land of Oz and keep him here. For he can learn no evil and will always be as innocent of guile as our own people." And so the wandering ex-king of the gnomes found a new home, a peaceful and happy home, where he was quite content and passed his days in innocent enjoyment. And that is the end of Book 13, The Magic of Oz. Tomorrow night, right here at 8 o'clock, Facebook Live, we begin Book 14, the last book L. Frank Baum wrote in the Oz series, Glinda of Oz.
Good, because I was almost sweating up here.
I hope you'll join us tomorrow night. Good night, everyone.